वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुत्सुधासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Namaste once again everyone.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste. नियतं कुरु कर्मत्वं कर्मज्यायो ह्यकर्मणः शरीरयात्रापि च ते न प्रसिद्धेद कर्मणः. So we are still seeing the 8th sloka. Of course, beyond the sloka, we have gone into a lot more details about karma yoga and all that. So here, Krishna is telling Arjuna, karma jyayo hi akarmanaha. So he is telling Arjuna to perform action because it is definitely superior to doing nothing. If you do not do karma or any action for that matter, not only that you will not accomplish anything, but your body, mind, etc. will also become sick. Therefore, doing karma is definitely superior. And as we have already seen, doing action is required if the human beings have to accomplish the 4 purusharthas. Thus, using their free will, they have to take action for achieving the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, purusharthas. Therefore, doing action becomes inevitable. Now, as we were discussing in the last class, this creates a catch-22 situation, as they call it. And we were just reflecting what could be going on in Arjuna's mind at this stage. It may be going through in many of our minds also if we are really thinking and glued to what is being taught. Arjuna may be thinking that while Krishna is saying that doing action is better than inaction, but if I do action, because I know every action has got an invisible result in the form of punya or papa. And this punya or papa will be the cause for my next birth. And again in the next birth, I will gain more punya and papa through my actions. So this process will be endless. And if moksha means and includes an end to this cycle of births, then I will never get moksha. Therefore, if I want to avoid earning punya and papa, I should not do any action. And this way, my chances of getting moksha increases. So now, once we hear this, we also think, yeah, what he says is correct. Because Krishna says do action, and action will give either punya or papa. Even if it is going, all our actions are dharmic actions and going to give punya only, assume. Still, that for exhausting that punya, we will have to take another birth. So, this cycle of births and deaths will never end if we continue to be committed to doing action, which we cannot help. So, therefore, we need to go a bit deeper to resolve this dilemma. See, this cycle of life can be looked at through the model of karma. But if we do so, we must take the karma model in its entirety. Suppose you say that by not doing any karma at all, there will be no problem. There will be no punya papa, and therefore no more birth and death. And since the cessation of this cycle of birth and death is what is meant by liberation or moksha, I will accomplish moksha by doing anything. Why should I study this Gita, Upanishads and all and gain the knowledge of the self for moksha? Let others do all that. I have found a shortcut. I do not need to study anything. I can get moksha by just doing nothing, not involving myself in any action. If I sit at one corner, that's it, what I require, doing nothing, I'll get moksha. Interesting, isn't it? To this, Adi Shankara replies elsewhere, not of course in the Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam, but elsewhere he says, he asks a further question. He says that, like Puja Swamiji says, in Vedanta, whenever anybody is asking a question, we ask another question to that person. That is how we make the other person understand the fallacy or the weakness of his own ideology or his own thought process. So Shankaracharya asks, okay, by not doing action, you say you won't get punya papa, no karmas will be there. What about the karmas standing in your account from the previous births? Sanchita karmas. That also is there, You are talking about not doing action in this birth now. What about the Sanchita karmas which you are carrying forward from generation after generation after generation? Who is going to experience their results if you do nothing in this birth? Only you have to experience those results. And he further says, secondly, when you decide not to do any more karma, when is it that when you decide? When you are maybe 30 years, 40 years, or 50 years, or 60 years, whatever is the age, right? At some time in your life. Till then, you are doing all karmas. What about those karmas? Their results also must be experienced. So this is a mere fallacy that from now onwards I will not do action, so I will not get any punya papa, is a very fallacious argument. And of course, as we have already seen Krishna telling that because of the three gunas, we cannot remain even for the briefest period of time without performing karma. When you have this aham karta, I am the doer notion, you cannot but do karma. In fact, you cannot remain even for a second without performing some action or the other. And if you are not occupied with doing the right karma, devil's workshop, it will take you no time at all to do the wrong karma. Therefore, not doing karma is nothing but a pipe dream. There is no such thing as gaining moksha by not doing karma. Of course, karma is the cause for you being bound. Karma is the cause for samsara. Karma is the cause for punya papa. All that is there. So karma is the cause for bondage. And nobody has said, nowhere in the scriptures it says karma liberates, karma will get you moksha. So karma definitely binds the jiva. Because the samsara is a knot, consists of 3 strands. Between the atma, that is the jivatma, and this body, this deha, there is a granthi. Granthi means a knot, a tie. Brought about by what? First of all, triggered by avidya, ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of your true nature as Brahman. And because of this ignorance, what happens is you erroneously identify yourself with the body, mind, sense complex, which makes you consider yourself to be small, limited, bound, and also a mortal. But this understanding of being limited or bound, etc., it militates against your true nature, which is ever free, limitless, and immortal. That is your true nature. Therefore, what happens? You want to be big, full, and immortal. You want to get rid of this bondage. And this leads the second strand called kama or desire. To liberate yourself from the bondage of samsara. Because human beings cannot stand ignorance. Reason? Because that militates against your true nature, which is all knowledge, which is consciousness. But what happened? Because of ignorance, we feel that we don't understand, we don't even recognize the consciousness. And we feel that we have got limited knowledge and therefore we don't accept ignorance. So one desire is liberate yourself from the bondage of samsara. Another desire is that you want to be free from the limitation of knowledge and ignorance. And there is also a desire to be happy, to be free from unhappiness, inadequacy, lack, everything. And all these desires arise because you do not know that you are already purna, you are already full. You are of the nature of Sachidananda, limitlessness. You are of the nature of limitless happiness. Therefore, when this ignorance is there, desires will also be there. And of course, the desires, of course, will be depending upon your limited knowledge, right? If your wants are not very big, you may want small things. This, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car, I want to get married, I want to have children, I want to have grandchildren. They are all basically very small, really. And in order to fulfill these wants, you perform karma, which produces punya papa, and that creates new births for you. So this ignorance, desire, action cycle, you remain bound by karma because of this. Adi Shankara refers this three-stranded string or this tie or knot as avidya kama karma. And together it is called Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya Granthi means the knot in the heart. Heart means here we should say the knot in our intellect, mind and intellect. An individual is bound by this knot and he is released when that knot is untied. Because what happens is, by doing more and more karma, doing varieties of things only makes it more knotted. Since the karma or the action stems from a failure to understand the original problem. Puja Swamiji compares it with untying of a tangled ball of yarn. Pulling at the wrong threads will only make the ball more tangled. So first of all, you must actually study the ball very carefully, get the hang of it, and then take hold of that knot and pull it, which will resolve this problem. In spirituality also, we must understand that seeking a solution within samsara is only complicating the problem. What we are doing, we are already bound. Everything is bound, limited. And we are trying to find a solution for our bondage within other things which are themselves part of that bondage. That only complicates the problem, makes us frustrated, depressed. I am trying so many things, but still I am not able to free myself. Therefore, we must first understand that the fundamental problem is ignorance, and to determine that you need viveka. This dharma, artha, kama, moksha are the four strings hanging from the tangled ball of samsara. If you pull the first three, you are tightening the knots. Pursuing artha and kama only create further problems. And even though dharma resolves some problems to some extent, it does not untie the fundamental knot of ignorance. For that, you have to remove this avidya or ignorance. And when you do that, the knot resolves because there is no longer any doubt whether Atma is Brahman or limited, Karta or Akarta, Bhokta or Abhokta, etc. So avidya, kama, karma is the triangle that entangles the body, mind and intellect. Lack of knowledge leads to the desires that lead to binding actions. And this circle continues and we are all caught in that circle. But the same karma, however, while not itself a releasing factor, can assist, can actually act as a supplementary supplementary power, or what you can say help in one's release if it is done with the attitude of karma yoga. We have already seen that. So by performing karma in this way, one is released from the hold of raga dveshas, the likes and dislikes. Therefore, even though the karma is binding, when the karma is done under the influence of raga dveshas, the same karma, when it is done without being influenced by the raga dveshas, that becomes a means or a sadhana. We must remember all along we are having an overview of Karma Yoga before we get into the details of Sloka, right? We have seen so many topics under this in the last 2-3 classes, isn't it? So what is karma? What is Karma Yoga? It is very, very important for us to understand. And by going through these details only, even any doubts that is there in our mind, they will all get automatically resolved. We have defined Karma Yoga as doing proper action and with proper attitude. And all along, we have been discussing only the first part of Karma Yoga, which is karma, that is proper action. Panchamaha Yajna, Satvikam Karma, Nishkama Karma, all these things, Avidya Kama Karma. The role of karma in our lives is what we have tried to understand till now. But Karma Yoga has got two parts. The second part is what? Yoga, which earlier I had given a brief definition as proper attitude. Now, how this karma and this yoga connected? Even the best action will not give me any benefit if I am going to look down upon the action and do it perfunctorily after cursing and muttering and murmuring as if that action is a burden. Some people do, get up early morning, do Sandhya Vandana. They will do it. But there is a feeling, oh my God, I'm supposed to do it. Children especially, when you do the Upanayanam ceremony, and then afterward, the father being a very religious and person, he will make the boy. Till yesterday, he was sleeping till 8 o'clock in the morning because the school is at 9. 8 o'clock, he will get up and then hurriedly brush, wash, breakfast, and rush to the school. Now, after the Upanayanam ceremony, the boy has to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The father is very keen. I spent so much money, invited all the family, friends, etc. and grand Upanayanam ceremony I performed. So I want my son to do the Sandhya Vandanam regularly. And the Pratha Sandhya has to be performed at the time of sunrise. In fact, you have to start before the sun rises, and at the time of sunrise, you have to complete the karma. So the father will try to wake up this boy at morning 4 o'clock, 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And the boy will, because he's a young boy, maybe 9 years or 11 years, still not become very independent of the parental pressure. He will get up and cursing, muttering, murmuring and all, he will do the Sandhya. So if we are going to do any karma half-heartedly, even if it is the best of the karma, it is not going to give any benefit. Therefore, what must be the attitude? Every action should be taken as an offering to the Lord, which is called Ishwararpana Buddhi. Because consciously, when we sit and pray, or when we are offering anything to the Lord, there has got to be a sincerity. We take extra care, isn't it? While even if we are preparing some prasadam or naivedyam for doing the naivedyam in any puja, how much care we take? That is the kind of commitment that is required while doing any action. And when we do that action with sincerity, with commitment, with lot of care, every action, whatever may be the nature of action, it automatically gives rise to the what I would call Parameshwara Prityartham. So every action I do, Satvikam or even Rajasam karma, should be done with this attitude that I am doing this as an offering to the Lord. Here, Aham Karta that phenomenon gets very diluted. Because I am not doing it for any raga dvesha. I am doing as an offering to the Lord. Because there is one aspect of it, whenever we are doing some service to the society, for example, it is very easy to develop arrogance, as if we are doing some favors to others. But if I consider my action as my humble contribution, I will be grateful to the Lord that I have got an opportunity to serve the Lord through service to the society or other human beings. We have already seen Naraseva is Narayana Seva. There is another expression, you know, Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. All beautiful expressions. Therefore, the attitude must be what? I am offering all my actions to the Lord. And Krishna will talk about it in the 9th chapter. No? He says, Yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yajjuhoshi, dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madharpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer as an oblation to the sacred fire, yajjuhoshi, whatever you bestow as a gift, what dadasi yat, whatever austerities you perform, yat tapasyasi, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, tat kurushva madharpanam, do them as an offering to me. This is Ishwararpana Bhava. Krishna will talk about it. So even the food you eat, offer it to the Lord, which is in the stomach, in the form of Jataragni. That's why, you know, before eating food, we do that. You know, take a water in the hand and, you know, do that karma. And what do we do there? Pranaya swaha, bhanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udhanaya swaha, samanaya swaha, brahmane swaha. The same mantra which we recite when we are offering the Naivedyam to the Lord. Same mantra we chant when we are offering food to the Lord inside us, in the form of the fire in our belly. It's called Jataragnihi. And not only that, at the end of every Vaidika karma, we chant Kayena vacha mansendrerva buddhyatmanavat prakrite subhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai Narayanayeti samarpayami. Of course, these days and all, people chant it, you know, mechanically, without even understanding, without putting their mind behind the words. But if you chant this sincerely, understanding the meaning of it, it is nothing but whatever karma I have done is with Ishwara Arpana Bhava. Narayana Yeti Samarpayami. So it is not for mere verbal repetition. One should mean what one says. Do keep on doing this, it will bring about an attitudinal change. It is a bhavana. Whatever we do, our attitude is most important in that. And in fact, it is the attitude with which you do determines whether you are going to get punya or papa for an action. In fact, in Tattva Bodha class, I have given one example. According to our scriptures, our dharma, Sanatana dharma, non-violence is a virtue, and violence will get you papa. Non-violence, if you practice non-violence, get you punya. If you practice violence, papa. Simple, straightforward definition. Now, there is a story which, of course, Swami Paramathananda narrates, which I have shared with you in the Tattva Bodha class. I think should share with you here also, because what is important, to highlight that attitude is very important. There was a person who was going on a road, on a street, a small narrow street. Lot of traffic is going on that street. There's not much of a side road or footpath or anything. This fellow was going. Suddenly, one person pushed him, and this person fell on his face, broke his nose, which was bleeding. He got up very angry and looked behind, and there was this person who was standing there, who was supposed to have pushed him. Then the second person, the guy who pushed him, immediately said, "I am very sorry, sir, that I had to push you, because when you were walking on the road, I saw that there was one bus which was coming at a very high speed, and if you had not moved away from the road, it would have hit you. And when I saw that, in order to save you, I had no option but to push you, and because of which you have got hurt. I am extremely sorry, sir." Now, the person who had fallen down, when he hears this, what will be his reaction? He will be thanking the other person for pushing him, isn't it? Whereas initially his reaction was, "Who the hell pushed me?" Angry. Therefore, even though it was a violent karma, pushing somebody and hurting him was a violent karma, the person who actually pushed him did it with an attitude, with the purpose of saving that person's life. Therefore, that action of pushing itself becomes a punya karma because of the attitude with which he did that karma. Another example we can say, all the surgeons who perform operations and all that, surgeries. They even though they are cutting the body and making it bleed and causing pain, etc., which can be termed as violent actions, but their attitude is what? To save the life. Therefore, all that action that they do, they will earn punya karma from that. Provided, of course, it is done with an attitude of really to save the life and not to make money out of the operation. That's a different topic. Let's not get into that. Therefore, even when we do the mundane jobs like sweeping the floor, cleaning the desk, etc., we must always remember that we are doing this as an offering to the Lord. Because the Lord is everywhere. The desk is Lord. We are just cleaning the body of the Lord. When we do the same job in a temple, for example, you are asked to come and help in cleaning the temple. How seriously, with a commitment, we go and do it, isn't it? Any job connected with the temple, whether it is packing some prasada, everything, we take it that we are doing it as an offering to the Lord. The same attitude we must develop in every job we do, every action we do. And if that we are able to develop, to do everything wholeheartedly, because I will not do anything inferior to the Lord. I will put in my best efforts. That is the attitude we have to develop in Karma Yoga. And as we have seen, the most important thing is that whatever I do, whether it is selfless action or selfish action, it is going to produce a consequence. There will be a result of my action. But I do not know what the consequences of my action will be, because I have no control over the results of my action. Therefore, Krishna says, whatever be the consequence, even though you have done the action with Ishwararpana Bhava or Ishwararpana Buddhi, whatever results you get because of that, you develop the attitude of Prasada Buddhi. I accept that as Prasada from the Lord. So as a Karta, I have a Ishwararpana Buddhi. As a Bhokta, I have Prasada Buddhi. Therefore, I do the action as an offering to the Lord. And when I am receiving the karma phala, it is prasadam. This attitude is called yoga. And if I entertain this attitude, what is the advantage I have? The greatest advantage is if I'm going to take all my actions as an offering to the Lord, I am not going to see whether it is a pleasant action or an unpleasant action. Because in life, we have to do many actions and many of them are compulsory duties. And all duties are not going to be pleasant. There are going to be some duties which are not that pleasant. For example, if I have to take care of my old parents or elderly persons in the family who are sick and bedridden, it is a duty, but may not be a pleasant one. Lot of expenditure is involved, physical strain is involved. In fact, there are cases where we may pray to the Lord to end their suffering and take them away, and end our suffering also by taking them away. Thus, in life, there are many unpleasant actions. Even we know that many people, they suffer from what is known as Monday blues. Some of you corporate world will know Monday blues. When Friday comes, they are very happy. Look forward to an entertaining weekend. After enjoying the Sunday and Saturday and Sunday, going to office on Monday is really painful. Similarly, housewives, come what may, they have to cook for the family 3 times a day, all 365 days. They have no holidays, no Sundays. Of course, in the initial stages of marriage and all, they will be enthusiastic in cooking and try out different recipes from different cuisines. But as they age, cooking becomes a boring task, an unpleasant duty. Now, what is Arjuna's duty now? Fighting the Mahabharata war, which is not a pleasant duty at all. It involves killing the near and dear ones. Therefore, when I have a Ishwararpana Buddhi, the advantage is that I will not divide my duty as pleasant and unpleasant. No division will be made. Both are what? Whether it is a pleasant duty or an unpleasant duty, I have to do it. I do it as an offering to the Lord. And once I look upon every action as an offering, I do not do it grudgingly. I do not consider it to be a burden. Therefore, whenever we do an action with Ishwararpana Buddhi, there is pleasantness. We treat everything, all actions as the same. Everything is ultimately being offered to Ishwara. Krishna calls it Samatvam. We don't do anything murmuring, mumbling, grumbling, etc. When we do the action with all sorts of unpleasantness, it is not only we become unhappy, we spread the unhappiness all around also. Therefore, Krishna actually defines this, Mukta Sangha. He says, Mukta Sango Naham Vadhi Trityusaham Saha Samanvitahat. Mukta Sangha Anaham Vadhi Driti Utsaha Samanvitahat. Mukta Sangha, free from worldly attachment. anahamvadi, free from ego, samanvitaha, endowed with dhriti, strong resolve, and utsaha, zeal. So a karma yogi performs all his actions with this attitude. Karma yogi will have lots of utsaha, enthusiasm. He will do everything with a smile. Therefore, Ishwararpana Buddhi makes the mind samam. Similarly, Prasada Buddhi has also got an advantage, because when the result is favorable, then everybody is happy. But the problem is, when the result is not favorable, I will react, criticize everyone, blame the God, allege partiality, etc. This is the human tendency. Whenever I don't get my expected result, I will, the easiest one, not around, is God. We will say, God is unjust, God is biased. Why does he make me undergo suffering? I will not go to the temple from tomorrow, etc. All these pledges they will take when they expect the results are not as expected. But if I have got a prasada buddhi, how do I take? Whatever Bhagavan gives me is the just result. It is what I deserve. Even if I have had very good times, I am suffering now. Of course, this self-certification of being extremely good itself is questionable, but let us give the benefit of doubt. So I am extremely good, but the Shastra says the result that I experience is not the result of the present action only. Today I am very good, I am very nice to people and all that. I do a lot of punya karmas, but I should always remember the results that I get for whatever actions I do. Even though today I am trying to correlate my today's action, my today's result, there is no such correlation. It is not necessary. The result may be for an action which I have done in the past, whereas the action itself, good action or a punya karma, I am doing it today. So we are trying, when we try to correlate the today's action with the past karmas and the results of the past karmas, is where we get all these confusions. The moment I understand that some results that I receive come from my purva janma karma, and I do not know what all adharmic activities I have done in my purva janma, therefore whatever results it gives me, I take Ishvara as the karma phala data. So that result must be just. Therefore, what Bhagavan gives me, I fully accept, with this understanding that it may not be the action by present action, but it is the result of an action which I have done earlier in a previous birth. And if I do not have the inner strength to accept that, I pray to the same Lord, oh Lord, give me the strength to accept. And this acceptance of the strength, this acceptance of the result without resistance is called prasada buddhi. And again, prasada buddhi leads to what? Samatvam. Therefore, both Ishwararpana buddhi and prasada buddhi, of course, here we must say buddhi does not mean intellect. Buddhi means bhavana, the attitude. The attitude of offering to the Lord and the attitude of prasada. How do you translate prasada? Whatever result you get, you can say, of course, it's not prasada. That is again, result is not prasada. Prasada is, there is no English word for prasada. We can best say that which comes with the blessings of the Lord. Okay, like in the temple and all, they offer the Naivedyam and then give that as prasada. The blessed by the Lord. So we must take that every action that we get is prasada of the Lord. It is coming to us being blessed by the Lord. And both these attitudes give samatvam. That's why Krishna said in the second chapter, if you remember, samatvam yoga uchyate. So the definition of a proper attitude is balanced mind, born out of Ishwararpana and Prasada Buddhi. Thus, proper action and proper attitude is equal to Karma Yoga. Now the question will be, what is the benefit of this Karma Yoga? Material benefits may come or may not come. Karma Yoga does not guarantee material benefits. Generally, we have seen that Karma Yogis who are doing this with this attitude, they have a good, materially good, comfortable life. But that's only a byproduct of Karma Yoga. Karma Yogi is not focused on material benefits. The primary result of Karma Yoga is purification of the mind, Chitta Shuddhi, which ensures very fast spiritual progress. And the indicators of the spiritual progress, first indicator is interest in self-knowledge, beginning to love self-knowledge, increased ability to easily grasp the knowledge which is there in the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. Once you have got these interests, arising in you, you can take it that you have, whether because of the Karma Yoga you have done in this birth or the previous birth, there is a reasonable degree of Chitta Shuddhi, and that is only when this, and that's the only condition when the knowledge will start sinking in your intellect and your mind. Of course, there are many other indicators will come your way. In some other occasion, I will talk about them. The more and more mind gets pure, all the qualifications also automatically start falling in place. Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dhamma, etc. Everything will start falling in place. Anyhow, this is the bird's eye view of Karma Yoga. We are going to see a lot in detail in the next slokas, in Krishna's own words. So with this background, we will go sloka by sloka. And I can tell you, every sloka is a gem. So we'll come back to the 8th sloka which we were seeing. Akarmanaha karma jaya. Arjuna, action is always superior to inaction. Krishna is again and again emphasizing on the superiority of action over inaction, because in inaction, the mind is idle. And as I said, an idle mind is devil's workshop. As far as an ajnani is concerned, if he is idle and if he tries to remain alone, withdrawn from the society, the very same aloneness will only create fear and loneliness. Therefore, whenever we come across a quiet place, we will find two kinds of people having two kinds of response. One person will say, "Oh, beautiful, it is so quiet like an ashramam." Another person will say, "Oh, this quietness, this silence, this is silence of the grave. The quietness is like a cremation ground or a burial ground." Quietness remaining the same. The one who has got a mature mind, he enjoys that and calls it aloneness. Whereas the other person who is not prepared, what does he call that? Loneliness. So for one person, aloneness, he enjoys, he revels in aloneness, whereas the other person, he gets disturbed by the loneliness, he is depressed by the loneliness, he is afraid of loneliness. Externally, both are safe, but internally, it is dangerous for the unprepared mind. Therefore, Krishna says, always engage in some action. Don't be inactive. Action is superior to inaction. And not only that, in the second line, he says, Akarmanaha sharira yatra api chate na prasiddhe. If you resort to inaction, even living in the world will become impossible. Sharira yatra, even the journey of life, even the procurement of minimum needs like food, clothing, shelter, etc., even that will not be possible if you take to inaction. At least to maintain your health, you will have to work. You have to act. Therefore, Krishna says, even for livelihood, you have to work in the world. Arjuna, therefore, tvam karma kuru. You do action. What type of action? Niyatam karma kuru. You do those actions which are prescribed in the scriptures as compulsory actions. What are those actions? All selfless actions, dharmic actions, swadharma, actions prescribed by the scriptures, nitya karma, nainityaka karma, all that. So in the next few verses, the karma done in this way is being referred to as a yajna. It becomes yoga and one gains shuddha antakaranam, a pure mind. With that pure mind, the person gains the knowledge that is moksha. This is the order of the universe, right? This is how the whole thing works. This is the secret. 9th chapter, you will say Rajaguhyam. Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam. This is the topmost secret. So we will now read the next sloka. Yajnatad karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanah tadattam karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. The Anvaya is, Ayam lokaha karma bandhanaha anyatra yajnarthat karmanaha. He kaunteya, you can add tasmat, therefore, samachara karma tadartam mukta sangaha. So the word meaning is, Ayam lokaha, this world, karma bandhanaha, is bound by actions. Anyatra, in the case of any action, other than yajna tat karmana, an action meant for yajna. He kaunteya, O Arjuna. Therefore, samachara, perform. Karma, action. Tadartam, for that sake. Mukta sangaha, without attachment. So what is he saying? This world is bound by action in the case of any action other than action meant for yajna. So all actions which are not performed as an yajna, all such actions are causes for our bondage. Therefore, he says, perform action for the sake of yajna, tadartam, without attachment, O Arjuna. This word yajna is a very important word in the Vedic literature. Even though the word means a sacrificial ritual, literally, that's how it is referred to in the Vedas. In a wider sense, yajna means every action of one's life is performed as an offering to Ishvara. That's why, Swami Chinmayananda used to call all his Bhagavad Gita talks, which used to give, as Gita Jnana Yajna. Considered whatever he is doing, the action of talking, giving knowledge, Yajna, offering to Ishvara. Karma Yoga is the worship of the Lord. It is converting the very life into a puja. Everything that you do with an attitude, I am doing puja to the Lord. Normally, who are used to doing regular puja in the morning. Of course, these days, very few people do it, but still there are people who I know who do it. What do? They will do puja for about 15 minutes, 35 minutes, or whatever it is, consisting of this Panchayatana puja or some archana, etc. Mostly you will find it is done in a very ritualistic manner, whether one does it willingly or as a force of habit. Krishna says that it's fine. I mean, in the beginning stages, you may do that kind of puja with that kind of attitude. But ultimately, the real puja is to convert your very life into a puja. Once you have done that, all the other pujas fall away. There is no need to do any special puja or anything. In fact, those of you who know Shiva Manasa Puja, a beautiful verse is there. Atma tvam girija matihi sahachara prana shariram griham pujate vishayopabhoga rachana nidra samadhistitihi sanchara padayo pradakshina vidhi stotrani sarva giro yadyat karma karomi taddadakhilam shambho tavaradhanam. A beautiful verse, Shiva Manasa Puja. Completely, this Ishwararpana Buddhi is, caught in this beautiful verse. Yadyat karma karoti taddadakilam shambho tavaradhanam. Whatever work I do, all that is your aradhana, your worship, O Shambho. We say work is worship, that is Karma Yoga. So for Karma Yoga, you don't need an altar of worship. You don't need any instruments of worship. You don't need any shloka or mantra for worship. If you consider everything that you do, whatever it may be, wherever it may be, whenever it may be, as worship. Therefore, what matters is the attitude with which we perform all our actions. For us, Ishvara is Sarvavyapi, he is Vishnoho. Ishvara is everywhere. In fact, there is only Ishvara. There's only Ishvara in the universe. We have seen those who are in the Vishnu Sahasranamam class. Upadav yasya nabhirbhyada sura nilaschandra surya ucha netre karnavasa shirodhyaur mukhamapi dahano yasya vasdeyam abdehe antastam yasya vishwam suranara khagago bhogi gandharva daityaihe chitram ram ramyate tam tribhuvana vapusham vishnu misham namami. What does it say? This very world is Vishwarupam, manifestation of the Lord. Tripuvana Vabusham, this whole world is nothing but Vishnu Isham, manifestation of the Lord. Therefore, to offer your work to the Lord, you need not come to a temple, go to a puja altar in your house. You look upon the very office of the Lord, offer it, whatever you do, to the Lord through bhavana, your attitude. Therefore, he says, yajñartam karma. Karma yoga is a yajna. And what is the advantage of this attitude? Krishna says, anyatra ayam lokaha karma bandhanaha. Anyatra means otherwise. That is, if you do not convert your action into worship, then what will happen? Karma bandhanaha. Every action will become a bondage for you. It will give rise to punya papa and keep you perpetually in samsara. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam will be the result. On the other hand, action as worship is not a bondage. In fact, it leads to liberation. Whereas action which is not worship is a cause for bondage. Why it is cause for bondage? Because whenever I do an action without Ishwararpana Buddhi, I will have tensions, whether it will work properly or not. There is constant anxiety, whether the child will get admission or not, whether my son will get a job or not, whether I will be able to go to America or not, whether I will be able to win a contract or not, whether I will get a good wife or not. So many tensions, anxieties are there. Because we think that whatever we are doing, that action, that will give us the result, what we want. Therefore, every action not done with a karma yoga attitude is a poison for us. It is a cause for stress and strain. So we'll stop here and then continue in the next class. Okay, it's time now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Guruji.
Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Hari Om. Namaskaram. I think today our opening batsman is missing.
Thank you,
Guruji. Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.
I think he's there, Guruji.
Is there?
I saw. Yeah, I saw.
Usually, when I close the screen, that day when I do the prayer, it's the first on the left-hand corner. I see his photo and a hand raised. Today, I'm not seeing it.
I just saw that video thing, and earlier, now it is not there.
He just
Okay,
vanished.
maybe got
No,
dropped or something there.
No, he just vanished a few moments ago.
Sorry?
He went off a few minutes ago.
Yeah, maybe the signal dropped or something like that.
Possibly.
Possible. Maybe let us see if anybody has got any other question. But Vivekaji has got a question. Yes, yes.
Guruji,
Ah.
how do we know about the previous karma balance or something?
Okay, we can
said
only
the-
make a guess. Whatever sufferings we have got. Or for example, I'll tell you what. Many times, honestly speaking, if you see, whatever we get in this life, whether it's a good thing, we may feel that, do I really deserve this?
Okay.
And sometimes when we get very bad things or unpleasant things, we ask, what have I done to earn this unpleasantness, this sadness, this grief, etc.? Where will
Okay.
you find an answer for these questions? The answer, there is only our dharma, our culture gives the answer. No other, religions can give you an answer which can be at least satisfying. If there is no proof, of course there is proof. We can find lot of evidence for that. But the satisfactory answer is, if what you have got in this life, you cannot correlate with what you have done in this life, then it has got to be something coming brought forward. So we need not know. We will know it only by the results that we get. So if I say that I have got an opportunity today to come into spirituality, because coming to spirituality, let me tell you, for a human being, according to the scriptures, is the final stage of the life. Once you come into spirituality, no, it does not mean that in this birth itself everything will be finished. But that's an entry you have taken, and that will take you in the next birth, and all that, till the whole process is complete. So coming into spirituality itself, you should have earned a lot of punya in the previous births, rather, accumulated punya. That is what will bring you here.
Okay.
So these are all some of the indicators with which we can say, okay, this is not some, honestly speaking, let me just share a very personal thing with you.
Hi, Guruji is looking for you, his first batsman. You better turn up. He's looking for you. He's asked everybody where you are.
Huh?
He has asked everybody, where are you?
That's okay. Maybe he's busy somewhere else. So I was telling you, just to share a very personal information. Long back, when I was a bachelor, there was one astrologer who saw my palm and also saw my horoscope. There was one thing he told me: you will rise very high in your life, but what all you get in your life will not be because of you. It will come to you.
Okay.
So it is basically what he was trying to tell me was, what you are now, you will not deserve all those things, but they will all, you will get. Now, at that time, of course, I didn't have any clue what he was trying to tell me. I always thought that whatever I get, I deserve it. But now I know what he meant. That it is coming from the previous lives, which is shown in the horoscope or whatever it is, that this person has brought forward. That's why I get an opportunity to go to the Gurukulam. How many of us will get an opportunity? How many of us will have the situation conducive enough for you to go away from your family, everything for 3.5 years, and spend that 3.5 years of life in a small 10 by 10 room with an attached bath, right? And live a sort of almost a monk-like life, no
Monk life.
newspaper, nothing, right? How many of us will even relish it rather? But when you get that opportunity, your mind is automatically becomes prepared for it. From where that a mind which was till yesterday wanting to stay in a palatial house and things like that and all, with lot of servants and all, is today prepared to go and stay in such a Gurukulam where you have to do everything, including toilet cleaning of your toilet. You have to do it yourself. Room cleaning, you have to do yourself. So how the change has come about, I can only say it is all Purva Janma karma only. In this Janma, I cannot correlate it with anything that has happened. So it's a journey. It keeps on moving rather. So we cannot find out what are there in the previous, Janma, previous karmas, what are there and all that. Some astrologers say some things and all that. Of course, some may be true, some may be not true. But even what the astrologers say, we have no way to know whether it is correct or not. So all those things are there. It's a very difficult question. Sanchita karma, we can't know. We know only prarabdha karma.
Prarabdha karma.
Yeah, as it unfolds. Yes, Sulekha ji.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Namaskaram. Guru. Thank you very much.
Namaskaram.
Hari
Yes,
Om
Sulekha.
Guruji.
Hari Om.
My question is regarding Raga Dvesha, Samatvam, and Viveka. Is there a progression between the three, or do they happen simultaneously? Or is there a point at which, I know you've spoken about the journey, but to decrease our Raga Dveshas with an attitude that everything that we do is for Ishvara, is a process of Viveka. And then from there, if that is maintained in a balanced way, does that become Samatvam, or is there a correlation between the three? If you could clarify, please.
Yeah. So let us take one by one. Raga Dvesha is what? Likes and dislikes, correct? Simply translate. If you observe, our entire life is driven by Raga Dveshas only. We do something because we like doing it. We like a person because we like him. We have become friendly with him. Or we hate a person or hate doing things, etc. Raga is like, Dvesha is dislike. And our whole life, if you actually analyze every action of ours, it will fall in one of the two. Raga or Dvesha. Now, what is the ultimate goal that we are looking for? Unconsciously, consciously, if you ask anybody, what is your goal in life? If he's not a person with a lot of viveka, he will say, my goal is to do this, get married, get children, or buy a house, or go to America or Canada, whatever it is. There are all the goals, but they are not goals. Actually, the basic goal is, they are all his likes, what he likes to do, what he wants to do. They are not goals. The goal is, underlying all these likes is be happy. That's the goal, right? If I get married, I will be happy. If I get children, I'll be happy. If I go to America, I'll be happy. If I buy a house, I'll be happy. Everything. Why do you want to buy a house? He may give 100 reasons, but eventually, if you go on questioning him, he'll say, I will be happy. So the happiness we must first of all understand is the goal of our life. Similarly, what is dvesha? I want to avoid unhappiness because I dislike things which I feel will give me unhappiness. I want to avoid them. Why? Because I want happiness, always happiness. So raga dvesha in one way, ultimately in our understanding, they lead to happiness. But the problem is that happiness is always eluding us in the sense that we get happiness, but it's not permanent. It doesn't stay with us for a long period of time. Why is that happening? Why it doesn't stay for a long period of time? It is because that we are trying to find happiness on people, objects, situations where they themselves do not have happiness to give you. Understand this very carefully. No object has got inherent happiness. Well, we can give what only we possess, isn't it? If I have got lot of money, I can give money to somebody. I cannot give money to somebody if I myself don't have money. Just to take any object, does the object has got any happiness or any situation has got happiness? Even people, do they have any happiness to give? They don't have inherent happiness to give. But what happens is, because of our life, because of our raga, we are under a, I would call it, a misconception that those people, those situations, and those objects give us happiness. And I explained it also, I think, in the Vivek Chudamani class last week. This process, very briefly, I explained. Because whenever we have a liking, it arises out of a incompleteness feeling. If I say I want to be happy and I want to get married, because that stems from a feeling that today I am unmarried and I am feeling incomplete. So if I get married, I will become complete. Right? So when I get married, I get happiness. Oh, I was incomplete without marriage. Now I am complete. If I feel complete, I get happiness. Similarly, any other situation you take, it is the incompleteness which leads to desires, which leads to happiness eventually. That the feeling of incompleteness arises from where? From ignorance. Ignorance of our true nature, which is fullness. Our true nature is purnatvam, but because of ignorance, we feel apurnaha. That is how the whole cycle takes place. Now, what is viveka? Viveka is discrimination, power of discrimination. That power of discrimination, how it acts? First of all, we discriminate between what is reality and what appears to be a reality. Right? The reality is Atma or Brahman, everything else is Anatma. Anatma doesn't mean they are false, but they appear to be real, but they have no existence of their own. Their existence depends upon the Atma. So the Viveka, when it comes, that brings in this discrimination to understand what is permanent, what is impermanent. If everything that is impermanent, I am looking for permanency, I am looking for happiness, permanent happiness, and I am searching for that in impermanent things. How can impermanent things give me permanent happiness? We should be able to, the Viveka will give us the ability to think in those terms. So I don't go behind the impermanent things. I go behind the knowledge, which is nothing but that you are permanent. You are eternal. You are immortal. That is the knowledge. So I go behind that knowledge, and I actually internalize that knowledge. And once I have that knowledge that I am myself complete, I have nothing else, to achieve or anything, then what it leads to, then I have no special liking or disliking for everything. Everything else is the same for me, isn't it? That is what is the samatvam it leads to. So you don't have any likes and dislikes. So what happens that when you, from this perspective, when you look at your day-to-day life, how do you reach there from the day-to-day life where you are entangled in all the samsaric activities? How to reach that you are actually, fullness, you are complete. So you don't need any likes or dislikes for being happy. Happiness is your very nature. In order to realize that, there is a sadhana that you have to pursue. And that sadhana is this karma yoga sadhana. So when you distance yourself or create a wall, a Chinese wall or whatever they call, between yourself and the action that you are doing, by offering all the actions to Ishvara, you get the samatvam buddhi. I don't care whether I do the action which I like or action which I don't like. I do all actions without any liking or disliking, because I have to do this action. I am offering it to Ishvara. So that brings in samatvam. Samatvam means what? Equality, sameness of attitude towards all the actions. Then this is one side. Then there is result of action is there. I like this result. I don't like this result. Right? When I go to a temple, I like this chakra pongal or whatever it is, that akkara vadisal prasadam or puliyodara prasadam and all I like. I don't like the prasadam which they give like tulsi and all that. Do we ever exhibit such an attitude when we go to the temple? Even the small, 1 spoon of that tirtham which that priest gives, with what kind of reverence and attitude we actually sip that and also put it on our head, isn't it? Why do we do that? Why don't we have likes and dislikes for prasadam when we go to a temple? Because we believe that that is coming from Ishvara, blessed by Ishvara, it is coming to us. Same attitude, if we just convert that into an attitude, whatever result we get in our life, whatever happens in our life, if we just actually extrapolate that temple attitude into all our actions, that becomes prasada buddhi. Then there is, irrespective of what the result is, there is samatvam, sameness of accepting the results. So the sameness in offering the results by getting rid of all this likes and dislikes business, and the sameness of accepting everything that comes to you in your life is what Ishvara Arpada Buddhi and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi is all about. And both of these lead to samatvam. So samatvam is what is karma yoga is all about. Is that clear, or I have confused you more?
Well, thank you. That's very clear. And it was very beautifully said. And it's very inspiring and very encouraging.
We just have
Thank
to
you.
practice it. That's all. In everything that it will not come automatically. Right? We have to apply our mind, be aware of everything that we do and start practicing it slowly, slowly, slowly. And then it will automatically come.
Thank you,
Because
Guruji.
one of the easiest things which I have found, which I try to follow rather as much as possible, whatever you do, take Krishna Rama's name. Even when I go out of the house, I will take Krishna Rama. I am going out of the house. Let everything be fine. So, I mean, that is the side. This is nothing that I am saying. This is our culture rather. Even when my mother and my parents and all, my mother will say, whenever you are going or doing anything, so just pray to the Lord and then start doing. That is the starting point of getting into this rather. So even though we may not think, oh, Ishvara, I am, in fact, everything that you do, you can do Kayana Vacham and Sendeva, right? But you normally don't do that. But in your mind, you can say, I am offering this to you, Ishvara. I have no likes and dislikes. I have to do a very unpleasant duty, but I am doing that as an offering to you. That's it. So that is how we have to start developing it. It's a long process. Karma Yoga is not a crash course. It will take one whole lifetime rather sometimes. But the more you do, you will start actually realizing, experiencing the difference that is making to your life and to your peace of your mind. Externally, I'm telling you, these are all indicators rather that comes to.
I have noticed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have noticed that in terms of just even an attitude of reverence, whatever, or concentration, with that reverence and concentration together, whatever action or activity that needs to be done, that needs to be completed, can be done with that attitude. So with your talks and with many other things in life, these are wonderful encouragements, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you. Yes, Premaji, your hand is up for a long time.
Namaskaram, Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Yes, I was wondering if we can use the word grace for Prasada Buddhi.
Grace is what comes from the Lord. Yeah, you can say that whatever I receive, it is because of the grace of the Lord that I am receiving. So I should accept it as coming from the Lord. You can take it that way also. Well, grace means basically blessing. That's why I said blessed by the Lord. The prasada word itself, very difficult to translate. So what is blessed by the Lord? And what comes as blessed by the Lord is nothing but God's grace rather. And God's grace need not always be a very pleasant thing. It can grace can come as unpleasant also. Because God is interested in your exhausting all your karmas, prarabdha karmas, which you yourself has earned rather, right? So He will give you that result, and then you undergo that experience and exhaust that karma. Let's call it grace, no problem.
And Guruji, we are looking in the wrong places where nothing is available and expecting a return to satisfy our need for happiness. So we don't realize that. We think that person, you are entitled to that, and the person is not giving, and then the anger and the frustration and so on and so forth.
Correct.
So when you make it as an offering and not expecting something, how do you change that pattern? Besides, it's a habit now.
No, you have to, that is what, you have to, as I said,
Start with small things.
Start with small things. Yeah, exactly. See, expectations are coming up, arising out of what? Raga Dvesha only. The starting point is these likes and dislikes in our life, which we cannot get rid of that easily rather. Right from childhood. And why childhood? From birth after birth, we have been carrying these likes and dislikes forward. Right? That's why it comes to us naturally rather. We are born. At that time itself, the child has got likes and dislikes. The child does not like certain things. Even a small baby, it can't talk. It can only cry, right? But through that crying itself, it expresses its likes and dislikes. Somebody picks up that baby which the child doesn't like, it will start wailing rather. Same thing, somebody like a mother, the child likes, picks up the mother picks up the child, it will smile. So this likes and dislikes is inborn. It's like an instinct. It's very difficult to get rid of. So we have to start with small things which are easier. So as they call it, low-hanging fruits. We have to identify our individual lives, what are those, and try to work on them. And then once you have comfortably succeeded in that, then go to the next stage, like that.
But
It's
if
a
you
long
don't
process.
know,
Mm.
if you don't know that this source is not going to yield what you want, why do we keep going back to it again and again and again?
That is because
You
of
want it from
ignorance.
that source.
Yeah, ignorance. Because you don't know, you think that the source will give you what you want. That
And
is
it
what the
doesn't.
avidya is, and it actually it doesn't. Viveka is what? Knowing that the source does not have what you are looking for. You are looking for happiness. This source does not have happiness. In fact, there's a beautiful example which Swami Paramathananda used to give. Again, I had referred to that example in Tattva Uda classes. A dog chewing a bone.
Mm.
That example, you always recall. The dog chews the bone. In the process, its gums are hurt or they bleed, and the dog likes the taste of blood. It is thinking that the taste is coming, that blood is coming from the bone, and it chews the bone more harder, and more blood comes. So we are all like those dogs. We are chewing the bone, thinking that the blood is coming from the bone, whereas the blood which is coming, it is coming from our own body. So the happiness which we are getting is coming from our own inside. You don't need the bone at all for that happiness to come. But we are all like chewing the bone, and we think that that is what it is. So happiness is inherent to your nature. You don't do anything also. You don't go behind people also, go behind things also. If you understand happiness, your nature, you will be happy. That is what is the secret rather. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yadrichya labha santushta. I say, whatever you get, find happiness, because that is another aspect of this. We'll come to that when we come to that sloka. But this is the, spirituality is not a very easy thing. It's not a 3-year course or a 5-year course, right? You have to practice it. Only thing I can tell you, a guarantee. When you are very sincere about it, when you are committed to it, and even though obstacles come, you still pursue it with a one-mindedness or one-pointedness. Ishvara automatically makes things easier for you. It happens in your life. How it happens and all, don't ask me. In my personal experience, I'm telling you, it happens automatically. All the obstacles and things which distract you from this, they automatically leave and go away. Or at least they become very less intense or intensive, whatever you can call, so that they are no longer a distraction. Personally, because I may not be in a position to share all the details because it involves other people also. But personally, for me, I see this very clearly happening in my life. So that way, these certain things you cannot say, only you can experience rather. So when you experience yourself, you will know the truth of these words rather. I cannot convince you by my experiences. You have to experience it yourself. When you do that, it will automatically, it happens. So that is what it is. I can tell you with surety. In my case, it is happening. So in your case also, it will happen.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Hariom. Any other question?
Yeah.
Nothing. No more hands are up. Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay,
Hariom.
Hariom. Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
meet next Saturday. Thank you very much. Hariom.